Hi there, and welcome to Chimp Chat, a podcast aimed at helping you get the very best from your Mailchimp account. Brought to you by those clever chimps at Chimp Answers, a Mailchimp Pro partner. Mailchimp email marketing is just what we do. Hello everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Chimp Chats, a regular podcast video series that's basically here to help you get more from your email marketing in Mailchimp. My name's Robin Adams. I'm the founder of Chimp Answers. We're a specialist Mailchimp marketing agency. And today we're going to continue with our recent series of interviews with a great conversation that I had with David Sandell from 𝐂𝐇𝐈𝐌𝐿 Solutions. David is a Mailchimp partner, much like myself. He's got a lot of experience and history and involvement in things like e-commerce, and in terms of web design and development. He's actually even a bit geekier than me, so it's always nice to know that there's someone out there that I can lean on if there's a challenge or two that's a bit too much for what we're doing. But I hope you really enjoy this conversation. We'll cover things like what David will be doing at the Chimposium event. We cover things such as best ways to improve your email marketing, whether you're starting or there. We talk a little bit about Mailchimp, and try and give you an insight into kind of like some of the things that you need to know to basically grow your email marketing. So I really hope you enjoy this video. Slightly longer, it's about 45-50 minutes, but I hope you find lots of real good value in there. We have a great conversation covering lots of topics, and I'll catch up at the end of this video just to wrap things up and see how things go. So without further ado, here's my conversation with David Sandell from 𝐂𝐇𝐈𝐌𝐿 Solutions. Today, in our ongoing interview series with the champions of Mailchimp, as I'm starting to call it, these guys really know their stuff. I'm joined by David Sandell. Morning, David. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Another Tuesday morning recording session after a session at the gym. So again, don't ask me to stand. Don't ask me to stand up. Legs don't work, but not doing too bad as well. Okay. So I've actually met David virtually, probably about 3-4 years ago. David joined the Facebook group that we set up and was one of the first experts that started contributing and chucking in a load of really useful advice and tips. But this is the first time we've actually, met face to face, as it were. So it's nice to actually have a little bit of a chat, because obviously we've circled each other quite a long time. So do you want to just give us a little bit of a background about yourself, where you're based? Because I know that's a little bit different considering your accent. People would probably not guess where you were actually based, and the kind of like a little bit about your business and the type of people that you work with.
Sure. So I am an American citizen, but I happen to live in Spain in the Pyrenees Mountains. So we're like 30 minutes from France, and live in like a little microclimate. So in the middle of winter, it can be, on a nice day, like 22 or 25 degrees Celsius or like 72, 73 Fahrenheit in January. But then you just drive 15 minutes into the mountains and you can be skiing. So that's why I chose this place, or I should say what drew me to this place.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And the business?
And sorry, go ahead.
And the business?
Yep. So I run a full service marketing agency called 𝐂𝐇𝐈𝐌𝐿 Solutions. And that low gravity is, again, it's a play on my hobbies, which is mountaineering, rock climbing, snowboarding, that type of thing. And so there's a funny saying: if you're having a really bad day of climbing, you say that gravity is extra high. So you feel really heavy, you can't get up the rock, and you're like, well, it's a high gravity day. And so I started my agency with the mind, like, I want to make this easier for business owners. And so I want them to have low gravity days and just have their marketing taken care of for them. They don't have to worry about it, and they can focus their efforts on actually running their business.
Fantastic. That's really interesting. Kind of like people, why they came up with the name of their business. I never knew that. That's quite cool. I like that. And of course, great thing is when you're speaking to people for the first time, potential clients or whatever, it's a great story to roll out, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially most people, that segues into, you go rock climbing? I could never go rock climbing. It's too dangerous, or I'm afraid of heights, or you're crazy. That's the one I mostly get is you're crazy. But
Yeah, no, I go the other way. I haven't done it as much over the last couple of years, but big into scuba diving. But actually go
Mhm.
kind of like quite deep. Got into technical diving for a couple of years with extra
Nice.
tanks and bits and pieces. And again, when I say that, oh, I could never do that, as it were.
Yeah.
So always the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of I always ask people, what would you say is your special skill? What's the thing that sets you and your business apart from some of the others that are obviously in a similar sector?
Well, I wish that I could say that I have myself grown multiple seven-figure e-commerce brands and sold them, and so because of that, I am uniquely positioned to create your seven-figure e-commerce brand. But in reality, it's just because I'm boring. um, I was a test engineer, an electrical test engineer for 9 years before I got into marketing.
Yeah.
And that entailed knowing the system inside and out. You have to know every single input, every single output, every single variable that could happen within your system. And so, I approach marketing and especially email automations that way. I plan out the journey, make sure I understand how people are entering, and making sure, based on how they enter and their engagements, like what is the preferred outcome. Um, Obviously, the preferred outcome for e-commerce is always a sale, but if somebody comes in from a different way and they haven't really shown interest, it's like, well, there's no point in giving them a hard sell. So let's take them in a different direction and try to get them to do something else before that.
Oh, you speak my language, kind of like that entry points. I've been very logical. I had a chance when I was a kid. One of the things I loved was physics, and I loved
Hmm.
the logic behind it. Of if you did this, this happens, then this happens, and yeah, inputs and outputs and all that stuff. And yeah, I'm kind of like I never took it any further than kind of like being at school. But my brain's always been like that. And when you start talking about mapping things out, knowing the inputs and stuff, I'm exactly the same way. So we've got to be careful not to disappear off into real geeky techie stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll
when I
try
was
and
when
avoid
I
that.
was when I was trying to decide what I wanted to go to college for, I knew it was going to be something intellectual, doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever. I was like, but with the human body and with law, there's a lot of like stuff that you can't control, but numbers are numbers. Like, how could you ever change 2 plus 2? So I was
Oh,
like, engineering, that's the way to go.
fantastic. Oh, I love it. I love it. Brilliant. So, and obviously that's something that's going to be quite relevant for the talk that you're doing at Chimposium, which is obviously one of the reasons we're speaking. You're one of our featured speakers at Chimposium, and you're actually you're batting lead off. You get to
Yeah.
you're doing the first day, and you're actually doing the first talk, and that is you're talking about just kind of like I suppose where email marketing fits into everything, and obviously that your numbers background means I guess that you're going to bring some of that into the conversation.
Yeah, very analytical. One other thing is like I wish Google Analytics would come up with a better name because it's not nice. It's like I am Advanced Google Analytics Certified. And so I make all of my decisions based on data. And if you have bad data coming in, you have bad data going out. So I make sure that everything is not only set up, how it looks on paper, but
Yeah.
that we can actually track that too to make sure that what we're measuring follows what we're trying to accomplish. And now I've gone on a tangent in my head and I can't remember what we're talking about.
No, that's fantastic. Like I said, your approach, because kind of like I do pay attention to numbers, but being a marketer, probably more. I'm a bit
Mhm.
more. I wouldn't say instinctive is not the right word, but I do go a little bit more on gut at
Yeah.
times in terms of. But so I'm actually fascinated by the way that you look at things. I'm kind of like we'll obviously come to it a little bit later, a little bit more about what you're going to be talking about, and give people a little bit of tease. So how did you transition from being an electrical test engineer, as it were, into digital marketing? Where did that come from?
Well, it's funny. I actually just had this conversation with a potential client yesterday. They asked the same thing, and I had to think about it for a second. I was like, wait a second, it's been so long. How did that happen? Um, so, as a test engineer, so also back up one more step. As a salaried employee,
Yes.
like you work as many hours as it takes, but you only get paid for 40 hours. And if that means you're on a deadline and you're working 100-hour weeks and you still only get 2 weeks of vacation every year. So during one particular project, I was working, I think, between 60 to 70 hours a week and for like 2 months straight. And finally, I told my boss, I was like, I am getting burnt out. Something has to change, or I need something in reward. Like my salary's not going up. I'm not getting paid overtime. So what can you do for me? So we came up with like an under the table agreement. He would give me some extra time off, which was great. So project's done. I had accrued this under the table plus my official vacation time of like 4 weeks. And I had always wanted to travel to Thailand. But in the States, typically it's an unspoken rule that you only take 1 week of vacation at a time. So I thought, all right, so traveling to Thailand is, let's say, basically it's 2 days.
Yep.
Traveling back from Thailand is basically 2 days. So you've eaten up your whole week of vacation just in travel.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, this is my opportunity. I'm not even going to ask for the full 4 weeks. I want 3 weeks of vacation. And he said, no, we can't do that. So I said, all right, that's it. I need something. Like, I cannot just stick to this 40 to 50 hours a week with only 2 weeks of vacation. Like, I have to do something for myself. And so that was already quite a long story, but I went through a bunch of different transitions. I started out with social media marketing, then I transitioned into a freelance writer, then I started my own blog. And because I started my own blog and wanted it to grow, I got into influencer marketing as an influencer and a manager. And then finally, I just put it all together and was like, all right, I'm starting an agency. I'm doing it for other people.
Fantastic. And it's funny, your story there, that's something that I think is resonate with a lot of people. Certainly people who are starting to go into it. It's obviously there's people who, there tend to be two groups of people who we work with, and certainly people who are going to be attending the Chimposium. There'll be those people who are using Mailchimp for their business, but there'll be a lot of people there who are agencies, freelancers, contractors who have gone through exactly what you went through, kind of like, we're in the 9 to 5, struggled with holidays, commitments, other bits and pieces, and thought there is a better way. Can I work for myself? And obviously you're proof positive that it does actually work, although I'm sure it wasn't an overnight success.
Oh, no. Before I quit my engineering job, I saved up an entire year's worth of expenses at that time, my current standard of living. I sold everything I owned. I moved into a van and lived in a van and traveled the US for like 3 years. And
Wow.
like, I was not making a lot of money. I think a good month for me starting out was about $500, but I had no debt and no responsibilities. So that made it work for a while. And I stretched my 1 year of expenses into 3 years.
Wow.
But then when that 3 year rolled around, I was like, oh, I'm at a make it or break it point here. Like, I literally have $2 in my checking account. So what am I going to do? And I can't remember the exact thing that made it switch or which opportunity. Actually, you know what? This is a great thing for the podcast. My make it or break it opportunity was somebody from Mailchimp reached out to me and asked me to join the experts directory. And
wow.
Yep. And I mean, that was right when my decision was coming. I had actually already moved to Spain, but again, the cost of living here is much cheaper than the US. So yeah, it was like, what do I do? Do I start applying for engineering jobs again? Do I move back to the States? What do I do? And Mailchimp reached out, and I didn't think anything was going to come of it. But yeah, in the early days, the directory was positioned a little bit different. So I started to get some clients, and I started to make some money, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, I can do this.
Very cool. I like that story, and the fact that kind of like Mailchimp moved out, and actually that's that perfect segue into kind of like the Mailchimp section, as it were, of where we talk about your relationship with Mailchimp. So when did you actually start using? I'm guessing you were a relatively early adopter of Mailchimp. When was your first experience?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact year. I want to say 2013 or 2014. Like, as I mentioned, I started a blog and I wanted to grow my own readership.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I knew I needed email marketing. I was following some marketing gurus and some people that would, some other self-help gurus that help you transition from from 9 to 5 to freelance, and they all had email marketing. So I was like, hey, I got to do this email marketing thing. And at the time, Mailchimp had the best value for the free version. And since my list was basically non-existent, then I could skate in on the free plan.
It's funny you should talk about that, because that's kind of like something I picked up for a lot of people. They started with Mailchimp. They weren't an agency to start off with. They had their own business,
Yep.
started to use Mailchimp, started to realize how it worked, and started to be able to push it. And then almost kind of like people started contacting them and saying, well, you seem to know a little bit about Mailchimp. Can you help me? And that's certainly
Yep.
my story. I kind of like, when I became self-employed, initially I was kind of like, I was involved in video production, other bits and pieces like that. And then slowly started to realize that, hey, actually, you know what? I actually think I know what I'm doing with regards to the Mailchimp and the email side of things. And it grew from that, as it were. So no,
Mm-hmm.
very much understand that. So in terms of Mailchimp, and we are as I say to everyone, we are a Mailchimp Pro podcast. We are pro. We are for Mailchimp. So with that in mind, what's the favorite thing? What's the thing that you love most about Mailchimp?
I think the thing that I love the most now, not everybody that uses it, as you can probably relate to in your Facebook group, not everybody finds it intuitive to start with, but for me, it was very intuitive. Like, it was a very low barrier to entry, and I think the progression that Mailchimp has made throughout the years is even trying to make that easier and easier for people. And so it doesn't take an engineering degree, that's for sure. And you can set up an account, you can get in there. If you're familiar with Canva, I mean, right now Canva is the thing, and Mailchimp has that integration with Canva. So you can do your graphics, make things look beautiful and pretty in Canva, bring it over to Mailchimp, and like you can start sending your emails pretty easily.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm really glad you say that, because again, at times you're in the Facebook group and you do read some of the comments from people coming in and saying, "Oh, it's so unintuitive, and I can't work this out." And I'm like I'm like, but I thought it was relatively easy. You got your audience, you got your campaigns, you send your campaigns to the audience. What more there is there to it? So,
You got a little pencil that says create new, you click on email and you're creating an email.
yeah, and obviously from Mailchimp's point of view, that's obviously what they're trying to do. Their whole model, their freemium model, is to get. They need to make it as easy as possible for people to start, so that they get in and they can obviously grow with the system. So no, it makes that. Agree completely. That's one of the things I do actually like a lot about Mailchimp. But as with all relationships, we like to be honest with our partners, as it were, and sometimes things aren't perfect. So what's the thing that you just really bugs you about Mailchimp that if you could change, you would change? What's that one thing?
Well, because this is still a Mailchimp positive podcast, I work with some of their competitors as well, and the things that their competitors do much better is personalization. And so, one thing when I work with my clients, what gets my foot in the door with most of them is fixing or implementing their abandoned cart sequences. And with Mailchimp, you can have an abandoned cart sequence and you
Yeah.
can say, hey, you forgot some items, please come back. And some of their competitors, you know specifically which category of items they're in, or you know how big their cart was. And so you can have one abandoned cart sequence, but with multiple branches. So if their cart is above $1,000, you want to talk to them in a specific way. If their cart contains your most expensive item, you want to talk to them in a specific way. If their cart has the cheapest one, again, a different way. So specific actions and specific responses. But with Mailchimp, they don't have that personalization there quite yet.
No. And I understand. Again, this is the downside, obviously, with Mailchimp being accessible and something that a lot of people can start off with. Kind of like by focusing on that, it does mean that once you start pushing the bracket and wanting to do the real clever stuff down the track, at times you do hit that kind of like ceiling in terms of
Yeah.
what you can do. And don't get us wrong. We're not sitting here saying we can do abandoned carts. And for a lot of people,
Right.
and certainly small and medium sized e-commerce businesses who are generating a reasonable amount of revenue but haven't got that complexity of product matrix and other bits and pieces like that, they probably don't need that level. But yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
There's a certain point where you go, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could just get this little bit extra in there, as it were? So no,
Yeah.
don't buy into that. And finally, with regards to Mailchimp, when someone comes to you and goes, "Oh, I didn't know that," what do you think is the one misconception that you commonly see people have got when it comes to Mailchimp?
This is a tough one. A common misconception. I'm not sure if it's a misconception, but I think it's just one big thing that people don't know exists is the merge fields and using dynamic content. And we use that a lot to kind of build in the specificity if it's possible.
Yeah,
So, for example, I have a client, he has multiple sales agents all working in his account. And when his sales agents generate a newsletter, they don't want to have to go in and insert their signature block every time. So what we've done is for each contact, we have a merge field with the salesperson's name
yeah.
and the salesperson's email address and the salesperson custom signature. And so now that is all just populated dynamically. It doesn't matter which salesperson is generating the newsletter. As soon as it goes out, each contact is going to it's going to appear as though it's coming from their sales agent.
Now, love that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of I'm kind of like doing it at the moment where I've got someone who's basically in the app marketplace, and they've got, I think, 14 different apps. And whenever
Mm-hmm.
someone purchases one or more of those apps, we've got an email that goes out, which has got 14 blocks, but it
Mm-hmm.
only shows the products that they've actually purchased. It doesn't show the
Yep.
others. So from that point of view, it's automated. And obviously then it means if 3 weeks later they buy a number of other products, they can get exactly the same email, but it will look completely different because the products
Yep.
that are included are different. So yeah, I think I agree completely. I think a lot of the times when people look at Mailchimp, because it's got this freemium model, it's got this basic, and don't get us wrong, I agree there are things that Mailchimp, from the advanced point of view, could really improve on and take to the next level. There's some pretty cool stuff in there already that you can do to actually really push the bracket. And certainly for, if you step away from the e-commerce marketplace and look at more, a broader point of view, there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things and a lot of elements within Mailchimp that people just don't use and they're not even aware of. I'm regularly
Yep.
speaking to clients where they're coming to me and saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if I could do this?" And I'm like going, "Well, you can actually do that. You do know." And they're like, "Really? I didn't know Mailchimp could do that." It's like, oh God, okay, all right. Well, this is, and so, which is great for us, obviously, because as experts
Right.
knowing how to do it, it gives us a reason to exist, as it were. But yeah, occasionally you have to kind of like pinch yourself and go, all right, you think you know Mailchimp, you don't really know Mailchimp. So
Yeah.
no, really good point. Really good point. Cool. Right. Okay. So let's broaden the remit a little bit. So this is kind of like this is the ask the expert type section, as it were. Now, again, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. So a couple of questions. So what do you think is the most common mistake that people make with their email marketing? Okay, so we're not just obviously Mailchimp, and I know you work with other platforms as well. So what's the when you look at an account, wherever it is, what's the thing that you go, oh, again, someone's doing this and they shouldn't be?
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's a lot to pick
Mm,
from, probably.
yeah, there is. Well, let's just start with Mailchimp. Maybe something else will come to mind. But having multiple audiences in Mailchimp and saying, and they're like, no, no, no. I know that you can have a master list, but in my scenario, I have to have multiple lists. It's like I have encountered one. Like, okay, I might have one specific client that has a special use case, but generally speaking, again, I work mostly with e-commerce brands, so even though we're broadening it, I'm going to
Yeah,
bring it back to e-commerce, is if you have a wholesale market and a retail market. For me, that's the only reason to have two lists. And in fact, you don't even need to have that. You can just have different groups.
yeah.
So
I,
in terms of,
you know my attitude. There's almost when you said that, I kind of like a little soundtrack in the background going, "Hallelujah." It's kind of like it is like that's kind of like probably the first thing that I really hung my hat on was the the mo lists, mo problems type concept of
yeah.
more lists in Mailchimp, and it's true. It's certainly with Mailchimp. All right, I really should have a running competition. I know someone in the Slack channel blew this out. What's the largest number of audiences that you've had on an account that you've experienced so far?
I just saw somebody, I think it was ridiculous. No, the first number that comes to mind is this 27, and that's because they have 27 sales agents, and I'm getting
Yeah, good.
that into one. And I want to say before that, somebody had like 60,
Yeah,
but
I,
and
I've got a 54 at the moment with
yeah,
300,000 across that 50 of those 54 audiences. But about
yeah.
3 or 4 years ago, there was a bookkeeper in Australia who contacted me and had 72. And, and I was trying to explain and the problem is that when someone's so far down the track of having these multiple audiences, and this is kind of like probably one thing for people who are, if you're a Mailchimp user and you've got a number of audiences, the problem is that it's one of those ones that the deeper into the hole that you get, the more time and effort it actually is to get out. Because
Yeah,
I was explaining to this business that got 54 audiences, said realistically, at best, it's going to take 15 to 20 minutes to go through the process of combining one audience together with into your master audience, to tag it appropriately so you know where they're coming from, and make sure that you've got the information. And that's not taking into account the fact that if there are entry points and there are automations associated, you've got to move them across. So at the best case, it's going to take 15, 20 minutes. So you're going to do, say, maybe best case, 4 in an hour. Okay, so you
yeah.
add that up, you think, kind of like 72. What's that? That's 18 hours solid of transitioning
Mhm.
it. So if you're sitting there and you're going, oh, I'll just create another audience, it's easier for me to do that now than to faff around and create groups and bits and pieces, stop. Because all you're all you're doing is making things harder for yourself down the track. And one of the things that I kind of like, and obviously, living in Europe, you're very aware of GDPR and all the implications.
Yeah.
One of the things I say to people is, well, every time you create a new audience, you're creating a GDPR issue. Because if someone
Mhm.
unsubscribes from that audience, then in theory, you should actually be unsubscribing them from all the other audiences. But I guarantee that you're not doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, buy into that multiple audience. And again, I said it's the same with every system. There's how they store the data. If you're not careful, you can have multiple databases, which just kind of like have duplicate, triplicate entries. Just makes it very messy. Very good idea.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And
Go on.
I like that you brought up the time factor to do that. So I also have a client right now. They have not that many lists, not that many, like 8 lists, but they
Fair.
have like 300,000 contacts. And I know for a fact that almost all of them are doubles and triplets. And so, like you said, going through each one of those audiences and combining it and making sure that you're not losing any
Yeah.
data along the way, like it takes time. So for any users out there that are listening, it's not just, hey, let's push a button and they're all combined. Like it takes time, and
Yeah.
time is money.
Exactly. So yeah. So make life easy. Stop creating multiple audiences.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's right. So I'm completely new to email marketing, and I'm coming to you. What would you say to me are the most important things that I can initially do to give myself a good chance to succeed?
Yeah, so this was actually, I wanted to come back to this until we actually went down the multiple audience rabbit hole. Another thing, so to answer this
Yep.
question and the other question, another thing that I find most people don't do is they don't do a lot of the work up front. So MailChimp makes it real easy to get in there and start sending emails. And unless you're a savvy online business owner that understands branding and cohesiveness across email, website, social media, you think, I'm just going to go in there and start sending emails. It's like, but wait a second. Have you
No, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
have you set up an avatar? Like, do you know who your clients actually are? Do you know what your clients actually want? Do you know how to talk to your clients? um, what type of images and messages resonate with them? Do they prefer video, or do they prefer long blog posts, or do they just prefer, here's a 10% off coupon? So before you get in there and just start emailing people and setting up automations and investing, like
Yeah.
this is something that you can do on your own before you invest a bunch of money in an email marketing firm or freelancer, is set up your avatar, understand your customers, and understand your audience first.
Really, really good advice. That it's the number of times. It's almost people come to experts like yourself and myself and go and think that we're going to have a magic pill and going to make it all
Yeah.
easier. And they kind of like forget the fact that, yes, we may know Mailchimp and we may know marketing and systems and bits and pieces, but we're never going to know their customers and their business as well as they are. And they can't
Right.
come to us and get this magic pill. They need to do some prep work up front. And yeah, agreed. The downside of Mailchimp being very easy to pick up is that, unfortunately, they have a tendency to, I can dive straight in. And it's like, no, you need to do a little prep work beforehand. You need to have a think about what is actually going to work. And one thing I say to people, why are you doing email marketing? Email marketing is certainly something that is very good and positive for lots of different businesses, but it may not be right for you. So don't just automatically think, it works for them, I'm going to do that. Actually take that moment to take a step back and go, actually, you know what? What's the right thing to do when it comes to, email marketing? If you are doing it, what is going to succeed?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Right. Okay. So let's go step up. So someone who's been doing email marketing for a number of years has got a reasonable sized database, but wants to take things to the next level. What would you suggest? And obviously, there's certain assumptions here that you can make, but what's the thing that you'd say to them that kind of like that would help them take that next step, as it were?
Yep. So again, to build off the last one, is if they haven't done their avatar stuff, well, I don't know if it's the next level or if I just kind of combine two levels in one, but for sure, I like to just harp on people's copywriting. Like you just said, we know Mailchimp in and out. I'm an okay copywriter, but I am not a copywriter. And so when people want to go to the next level, you really have to dial that in. Like, what stories are you telling people?
Yeah.
What's going to separate your brand from another brand? I just had a call with that same person that I referenced earlier. They do handmade linens, so bed sheets and towels and stuff like that, handmade from Turkey, which is amazing. It's all locally sourced materials. People they're supporting local economies in Turkey, that type of thing, but their business is based in the US. And you go to their website, and I said, I apologize, no offense, but your website looks like it's Bed Bath and Beyond. Like, you're just selling a product, but you guys have an amazing story. So to go to the next level, like for me, it brings the art into the science. And how are you connecting to your people and talking to them?
I love it. Absolutely love that. I was not expecting that from you because of kind of like you said, we've already established that you're very analytical in approach. But it's true. I have the same issue. I always jokingly say to people, I'm not a copywriter, but I can write copy. And I think a lot of people in our business who turn their hand to a number of things, that's a skill that they understand. But you're right. The number of times that people don't invest the time and energy in creating those stories of making themselves stand out. And the fact of the matter is that, apart from, video, 99% of emails are written, they're images and they're words. And at times it's shocking, actually, looking the lack of investment that people put into the words and think that they can, kind of like half-arse it and not actually put in there. So, no, agree completely. That's really, really powerful. And again, I said, for you listening, David is an analytics person. He likes numbers. And the thing he said was, if you want to grow your business up to the next level, then you need to invest in good copywriting. So if David's saying that, that's a really strong message.
And technical automations.
Oh no, I can see we're going to have another one of these chats where we're literally just going to go deep dive into, have you done this? And a little bit too deep for the majority of the average Mailchimp listener. Cool. Right, okay, let's do a little chat before we dive into kind of like some background. Obviously, you're, like I said, you're batting lead off at Chimposium, and kind of like the area that you're going to be focused on, which is the reason why you're kind of like doing the first talk. No pressure at all. It is the idea of understanding, first of all, where your email marketing fits into your overall plan, so that people can actually kind of like start going, of the, kind of like how it all fits together. So do you want to just kind of like give a little bit of a tease on kind of like how you're going to approach that? Obviously, don't give too much away, but give enough for people to go, oh, that sounds like something I could listen to.
Yeah. Let's see, how can I do this? So for me, I used to have a graphic on my website where, again, my approach, my principles is the website is the hub of your business. And then the different spokes coming off of your website is social media, paid advertising, SEO, email marketing, and all these other marketing channels that we have available. But the hub is your website. So like how that fits in, it's not like, well, first you have to have a website, then you have to have social media, and then you can do email marketing. As you said previously, not everybody even needs email marketing. So where it fits in is up to you. And when you implement it is also up to you. But what I will say now, back to my own bias, is that you own your email list. You own your email marketing. So if somebody has voluntarily given you their email address, that means they want to hear from you. So talk to them. And you're not at the whim of a Facebook algorithm or an Instagram algorithm. You send an email, hopefully they can receive it. Now, you're at the whim of some spam filters and stuff like that. But for the most part, you own it. You own your website, you own your SEO, you own your email marketing. So for me, that's what I focus on. And that's the way that I push my people towards. And then once you've got a good solid foundation and a good connection between email and website, well, then start sending all the traffic in the world to your website because your systems are already set up.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, we are of one mind on that. I agree completely. The concept, the website is what you own. You rent space on Facebook and Instagram and other places like that, but your email list again is your own, and actually having that natural flow through the customer journey of how people find you, how you establish credibility, and how you take the relationship to the next level. That is that flow from, through SEO into your website and then onto your email list and moving forward. So no, I'm looking forward to actually, because like I said, this is one of my areas that I really, that overall customer journey is something I'm absolutely fascinated by. So I'm really interested to see your perspective on that. So like I said, David will be speaking at Chimposium on the Thursday, the 7th of October. He's the first presentation of that day. We might be squeezing in a little breakfast session beforehand on one or two bits and pieces. We're still trying to work out how we're going to fit in, but the first official main speaker is going to be David. So if you want to understand where your email marketing fits with everything else, then that's definitely the presentation that you want to go to. Right, last question on email marketing. This is, again, a very broad question. You can take this in whatever direction you want. What separates those people who are good or successful at email marketing from everyone else?
This one is going to be obvious, but overlooked so often, is be consistent. You don't have to have, sometimes I set up as many as 10 to 15 automations that are all playing together with somebody's account. You don't have to have that. You can have like a welcome nurture sequence and then just stay consistent. A monthly newsletter, a weekly newsletter, like test what works with your audience. Is it once a week? Is it twice a week? I mean, I get emails daily, but it just depends on your brand and what your audience is expecting. But if you're consistent, they'll know that they should be hearing from you. And as long as you're providing value, or sometimes it doesn't have to even be valuable, but engaging to them, they're going to keep connecting with your brand. So whether you have one automation, 15 automations, just stay in front of them, stay consistent. It's really hard if you invest in email marketing, whether it's your time or your money, but if you've invested in it and then all of a sudden you just drop it cold turkey, and then some months later you want to start up again, it's really hard to get those people to come back. It's almost like, it's dating, right?
I use the dating analogy all the time. I've got a couple of ones that I'm doing quite a bit at the
Yeah.
moment. A
So
couple of
if you
examples. So yeah, it is. If you
so
don't, if you go out for dinner with someone, have a great time, and then you don't ring them for 6 months, I can guarantee if you did ring them after 6 months, their response wouldn't be very positive, would it?
yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yep, exactly.
No. That's real. Kind of like really good, because one of the things that I speak to people about, it's not just the investment of money and expertise. It's you realize if you're going to do email marketing, you need to send emails regularly. You need to do
Hmm.
updates. You need to actually make a point of blogging to some extent, so you've got content that you can share with people. And a lot of people think, oh, I'll just set up the email automation to start with, welcome sequence and the nurture sequence, and I won't worry about it after that. It's like, yeah, but then literally you've been going through a month or two of communication, and then you
Hmm.
stop, and it's like, no, you have to have the time and resource to make sure that you're doing it consistently. That's really, really important, and I'm glad you brought that to the fore. Matters an awful lot. Cool. Right. Okay. Let's do a quick fire round before we get to the quick wrap up section. So all I need you to do is this is the classic lightning round. Just whatever comes to mind straight away when I say it. Okay. All right.
All right.
Favorite food?
Pizza.
I thought you'd go for paella. I thought in Spain, or it's a lovely food.
So funny tangent. We're not doing lightning. uh, Most people outside of Spain think like paella is the national Spanish food, but it's actually very regional. And sure,
Mm,
you can get paella in any tourist part of Spain, but to get the good paella
yeah.
is only in the
Yeah.
Valencia region.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a
No.
Spanish wide
Yeah.
food. It's
I
very
know, but, but
regional.
but you're in Spain. Spain's got some of the best. I went a few years ago. I went to northwest Spain,
Hmm.
and it was a business trip. This was probably about 15 years ago, and there was we're in a city where there was a cooking club, and the managing director of the factory that we were visiting was a member of this, and he made a meal for us, and it was absolutely fantastic. And the food, some of the food that you can get. So that's why I was. It's not necessarily just paella. It's like, oh, the cooked, the cooked meats and the spices. I mean, my favorite spices, is paprika. I love smoked paprika as a flavor.
Yeah.
The chorizo, it's just there, and you went and go choose pizza.
Well,
You've
I had to
dropped
think.
in
I
my
mean,
expect. Yeah, you were up there, David, and now you've dropped down a little bit.
I mean, I get it. I've only lived here in Spain for 4 years, so I think, well, what about the other 34 years of my life? Or if I ever had to move away from Spain, I mean, pizza's the one consistent thing. But no, one thing it did pop into my head is the Spanish meat. Now, I know like my audience is a mix of like kind of hippie climber vegetarian groups and also just meat eaters,
Yeah.
but whatever. So like, I mean, the steaks here in
Oh,
Spain are better
yeah.
than in the States. And so like that came to mind at first, but I thought, no, because I can't get a steak from Spain in the US. So
No. It's a fantastic. Cool. Right. Okay.
all right. Okay, now
Um.
we'll try to do lightning.
There you go. What's your guilty TV indulgence?
Gilmore Girls.
My wife went through that, and I kept getting sucked in as well. So, yeah, okay. Mac or PC?
Mac.
Okay.
Not like
Favorite.
uh,
Go on, you can.
I feel like there's a negative connotation to that. Like I hate to say that I'm a fanboy, and I'm not really a fanboy, but as I look at my desk right here, I have an iMac, a MacBook Pro, an iPad, and my iPhone. So it's like,
Yeah,
well, I mean, I would switch, but now it's just too hard because
yeah,
everything I own is Mac.
yeah. You bought. Yeah, no, agree completely. I'm exactly the same. Yeah, once you buy into the system, the reason you like it because it works. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite tool for a website form?
Ooh. Well, yikes, easy form, just because it's free, it's easy, and I'm a WordPress developer, so it covers like 99% of what people need.
Good answer. I'm definitely a fan of Yikes as well. If I want to go to the next level, I'll take to Gravity, go up to Gravity Forms. But
Yep.
Yikes, for those people who are starting out, definitely something that you do. Favorite TV comedy?
Ooh, boy, there's so many of them. Well, I we actually watch three or four series on repeat. Seinfeld, Friends, How I Met Your Mother, and this one's kind of a dumb one, but Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Hey, we've gone through gone through Kimmy Schmidt once, so yep, no, I'm on
Yep.
board with that.
Yep.
Right, okay. Favorite film?
Favorite? Oh gosh, too many. I watch so many movies. Again, it just kind of comes to mind is Shawshank Redemption or Django Unchained. I watch probably both of those multiple times a year.
Cool, cool, cool. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
So many people in the Star Wars camp. It's untrue. Uh, and I know I know what you're going to do. What's your one thing outside of work that that you love to do? And you have to pick one of your one of your activities now. You can't just do all of them. What's the one thing you love the most?
Well, let's say for this time period of my life, I'll say mountain biking.
Cool. Good, good, good.
Yep.
Brilliant. So there you go. A little bit of an insight into the world of David. I love these. It's get to know little bits about people that you can just expand when they talk about stuff. So cool. Right. Before we finish off, I always like to give people a chance to get on their soapbox. All right. And being Mailchimp partners and experts, there are lots of things we love, but there are also lots of things that we just see again and again, and eventually we just kind of like start ranting about them occasionally. I've done it. We've done it in the Mailchimp partner Slack channel. I've done it on my Facebook group quite regularly. It's one of the nice things about having the Facebook group is if I see something, I can just kind of like record a video and chuck it up, and it like allows me to. So this is a free and safe space. You can say whatever you want. Here's an opportunity. Get onto your soapbox. What's something that you want to change? Something that, kind of like you're going, oh, please, would they just do it? It could be about MailChimp, could be about the people who use MailChimp, anything. Your choice is yours.
Well, I'll try to do two things that are not really hand in hand. So let's start with MailChimp is I wish they would just dump and trash every single product that they offer and focus on mail. Get rid of websites, get rid of their e-commerce, get rid of landing pages, get rid of all of their stuff they're trying to do and focus on mail. There's a reason I work with competitors because their competitors do things better. And if they want to be a leading email provider, you have to have these features. The fact that their pop-up, you can only have one pop-up on their website with very little control over it. If you have a website, you can't even embed something on MailChimp where people can go and update their preferences. You have to use a third-party form or send them back to a MailChimp landing page, which it's not that egregious of an error, but as you and I know, like send people to your website, always to your website. And MailChimp is a third party in that regard. So
Yep.
I just wish they would focus on the email product and bring it up to where everybody else is. I'm thrilled that they finally have the new customer journeys. But when they announced the customer journeys, it was like, woo, we're the first ones doing it. It's like, no, Infusionsoft had that 8 years ago.
Yep.
That. Second is for anybody that is thinking of investing in email marketing it is an investment. You can certainly go to places like Fiverr and Upwork and you can find people doing low-cost work, but you are most likely, there are a few diamonds hidden in there, but most likely you are going to get what you pay for. So if you come to a MailChimp partner, don't expect that we're going to work for $10 an hour. Just based on the report that they brought out, which is free and public for anybody to read, is working with a freelancer, I think on the low end was $50 an hour, and on the high end was $250 an hour. So when you come to the expert directory, have your budget in mind. And if you think, hey, I need you to combine 86 audiences and it's going to cost $10, it's not.
Good points, both. I understand exactly where you're coming from the MailChimp side of things. And I think I always say that what the challenge we've got is because we live in rarefied air, as it where we are the people who are really pushing the ceiling of what you can do. And when you're in that situation, you're always wanting more. You always want to know that it can do more and better. So, yeah, no, I agree completely. And yeah, I love the point about the finances. Yes, the number of people who, the inquiries that you get through the Mailchimp kind of like expert directory, 75% their expectations of what they're going to pay is completely out of line, because they've had a couple of people who had some bad experiences on Fiverr or whatever, and then they expect they're going to get the same level of work for the same, much better level of work for the same price when they come to an expert partner. So no, understand completely. Brilliant. So it's been lovely. I must admit, David, because this first time we've actually spoken, I'm surprised at how in tune we are on a number of things. Actually, I'm looking forward to having another chat outside to actually see how you approach certain things. I often think that there needs to be, yes, we're doing the Chimposium, and the Chimposium is going to be for people who kind of like use Mailchimp, but also kind of like agencies, whatever. But there is a point where I think we need to have kind of like a Mailchimp agency summit where there's kind of like show and tell, where each of us gets to show something cool or different that we've actually done, and just spread the experience and the knowledge, because there's a whole load of stuff that a lot of people are doing. Yourself, me, I know Alessandra, I'm going to be interviewing her in a couple of weeks' time. We're kind of like, we are the geeks who like playing and seeing how far can you actually push the Mailchimp automations. Can you? I discovered how to do kind of like repeater loops a month or so ago, and I felt really, I'm now using them, but at the time it's like, I'm not sure how I'm going to use this, but it's really cool. I can work out how to do it.
Now we're getting into it. So is that using the CJ or with the classic automation builder?
See, now we're going to do that. Very simply, it's two connected customer journeys, because the problem.
Well,
right,
no,
so,
that's all.
yeah,
That's all I was wondering, was if it was with CJ's or classic automation. Because with classic automation, I was like, there has to be a way. There has to be a way. I could never figure it out. Then finally, CJ's came along. I was like, all right, now we can do it.
I mean, the problem with customer journeys is that you can't do a loop in the own automation. So the idea of for those of you who are interested, basically what we're talking about here is doing a loop of emails. So send an email, say on Monday this week, and then have the email, or basically have it wait for a month, but then send the same email a month's time, and then a month and a month after that. So it's almost like a reminder email, but it's pretty much the same email. And the problem you've got with Mailchimp is that when you're trying to set up an automation like that, you can't do it in a single automation, because the way you do it is you'd add a tag at the start to trigger the automation. You'd remove the tag during the automation and then add the tag again. And you'd think, well, if we added the tag again, it would just restart the automation. But it actually needs to go through two automations. So you have one like the front half. So you've got the first one, which is add tag A, remove tag A, add tag B. And then you have a separate automation, which is remove tag B, add tag A, and that then goes back to the first automation. So it's a little bit, kind of like, back to front, as it were. But it does work, and I'm now actually using this for a number of clients who want that regular communication going out. So so there we go. A little bit of geekiness to finish everything off. Yeah. Just what we need.
Yeah, which is really nice that now we can do that, because the only way to do that before was through custom API programming. And again, that's custom programming.
Exactly.
Programmers get paid a lot of money, but people don't want to invest in it. No. So now there's an easy way to do it.
Cool. Right, okay, so we'll wrap this up now, unless before we disappear down the rabbit hole into getting too... I'm just thinking, we've just gone 40 minutes or so, and we've just managed to squeeze right in the end a little bit of geekiness, as it were. It's been fantastic to speak to you, David. Right, how can people get hold of you? Where are you in the world? So social media, websites, bits and pieces.
Yep. So because I own my website and my email, you can head to my website, which is lowgravitysolutions.com, or LinkedIn. You can search for my name, David Sandel, or it's, phonetically Sandel with an EL at the end. I also have my Instagram, but that's more on the personal side of things. But hey, if you want to see some stuff about Spain and mountains and outdoors, feel free to join me there. But for the most part, I don't really have a lot of time to put out information. So sign up for my mailing list. I actually do stay in touch with my mailing list, and that's about it.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time for this, David. It's been fantastic chatting. And as I said, David is going to be one of the feature speakers. Like I said, no pressure batting lead off, as it were. on the 7th and 8th of October at Chimposium. So if you like what you hear from David, then make sure you get your tickets and come along to that. Thanks, David. Really enjoyed that conversation. Hope you did too. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And I'll catch up with you guys very soon indeed. Cheers for now.
Well, I have a question for you, Robin.
Go for it.
I was doing some research, let's call it that, and I found that you're a fan of American football, correct?
I am a massive American football fan.
And if I can't remember which team, but I think it's a pretty horrible one, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, in my youth, I picked the team, and you never change your team from your youth. Unfortunately, it's a cross that I've had to bear for over 30 years.
Yeah, and who is it?
Cincinnati.
Yeah. It was either them or the Browns, and for your sake, I was hoping it was the Browns because they're going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good. No, we are the Bengals. I've been a Bengal fan for 35 years, so we had a couple of good years back in the late 80s, but yeah, it's been painful ever since. But every year this Sunday, I'll be, Sunday from 6 p.m. till pretty much midnight. I'm glued to the TV watching live feeds and bits and pieces. So,
yep,
looking forward to it.
Same here. I'm from Wisconsin, so by birth I have to like the Packers, and luckily, yep, obligatory. Luckily, we've had some good luck starting in 1992, but I know that comes in waves. So probably I'm going to be in for a bad streak here pretty soon.
We'll see. We'll see how long Aaron Rodgers hangs around for.
Yeah. All right.
Excellent. Right. Cheers, David. Thanks very much for that. And for those of you listening, I apologise for the slight digression into American football at the end. I hope you found lots of really useful stuff there. All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks, David.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And there you have it. That was I really enjoyed that conversation with David. It's not often that you get on the same wavelength with someone relatively quickly, and we had a lovely conversation there about audiences and Mailchimp, and I'm hoping that you're able to pick up a load of really useful stuff from that. As I mentioned at the end, David is one of our featured speakers. In fact, he's kind of like the first speaker on the first day at the Chimposium event that's taking place on the 7th and the 8th of October. We got some very exciting news coming out very soon indeed, so keep an eye out for that. In fact, we've got 3 new pieces of news that you want to be paying attention to. And if you've not got your tickets yet, have a look out for those news. There'll all be things that will hopefully give you an extra reason why you want to book on. You can, all your details, go and visit chimposium.com. All the information is there. But for now, thanks very much for listening wherever you are. Hope you found the conversations useful and it's helped you grow your Mailchimp and get a better handle on your marketing moving forward. My name's Robin Adams. I am the Chimp Champ at Chimp Answers, and I hope to catch up with you very soon indeed in the near future. Have a great one, guys. Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast really helpful, then here's what you can do next to broaden your understanding of Mailchimp. You can join our free Facebook group. It's the biggest Mailchimp support group in the world. Just search Mailchimp Answers on Facebook. You can take our free Mailchimp Medical to find out the health of your Mailchimp account and what you can do to improve it. Just visit chimpanswers.com and follow the prompts. And of course, you can get in touch with us if you like one-to-one support, advice, tips, or whatever. Just visit chimpanswers.com, which also has got one of the largest resources of Mailchimp blogs and advice available out there to get the information that you need. Thanks again, and we'll see you very soon.